Hello and welcome to the Quietly Visible podcast. I'm your host, Carol Stewart, founder of the Bounding Solutions and author of Quietly Visible, Leading with Influence and Impact as an Introverted Woman. And this is a podcast which has up until now been aimed at introverted women who want to thrive as leaders and in life. But now I'm shifting the focus slightly to encompass all the work that I do. So looking at belonging, psychological safety, human-centered leadership, thriving authentically. So not just specifically introverted women leaders, but for those people who want to thrive as leaders and in life, as their authentic self, those people who believe in that human-centered leadership, that people should be allowed to be who they are and be their authentic selves and made to feel like they belong and feel that they're included. So slightly different focus, but same ethos. So if you want to thrive in your life, in your leadership, as your authentic self, and you believe in human-centered leadership where people are first, people matter, then this is the podcast for you. And today I'm talking about networking, and specifically networking when you are introverted, because it's something that I know many introverts don't enjoy doing, but it is something which is beneficial for you, for your career as a leader, and even personally as well. And so the reason why many introverts don't like networking is because the environment is not conducive to our introverted way of being. So you typically go to a networking event, you make small talk, people think that they have to work the room speaking to lots of different people. That can be overstimulating for us introverts. It can make us feel drained. And when we feel drained, we may not want to interact and engage. We may just want to retreat, withdraw, go inwards and leave. Or we may not want to go networking at all if we are feeling drained. So if you've had a busy day and lots and lots of meetings and then you've got to go to a networking event, you might find that you haven't got the energy for it. And a lot of people mistakenly think that introverts don't like networking, or they're fearful of networking. And that can be true for some introverted people, but not for all. Some extroverts don't like networking and lack confidence at it. Not all introverts lack confidence when it comes to networking. For some, it's because that environment is overstimulating. And understanding that enables you to understand how you can be at your best in a networking environment and what you can do to get the most of it. And there are many benefits to networking, and it's research shows that network your career development. A lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know that can open up doors of opportunity. And so networking can make you aware of opportunities. It can let people know that you are seeking opportunities. And it's not just about the people that you meet at the networking event, it's who they have in their network as well. And also who you have in your network or how you can support those people that you meet when networking as well. So why don't you like networking? If networking is something that you don't like, why don't you like it? Is it because you're shy, you lack confidence with networking, or is it because you find it draining? And those are two totally different matters. And I will address both of them. So I'll look at if you lack confidence first of all. So I often coach leaders, senior leaders who need to network, one, because they need to be visible as a leader or It may be that they're a fee earner, or business development is part of their role, and so they're required to network and bring in new clients. Or it could be that you have to go to sort of social events in your role, or conferences and so forth. So networking can show up in many different ways in someone's career. But knowing that you are lacking confidence when it comes to networking, think about what it is that you worry about with it. Is it that you don't like making small talk? Is it that you worry about how you will strike up conversations, what you will say? Do you not enjoy speaking to people that you don't know, or just work in the room speaking to lots of people? Does that make you worried? Does that make you fearful? I had a client who was a lawyer, and business development was part of her role, and she was required to, as part of her role, to bring in new clients. And she likened networking to a meat market. And she said that she hated it because it just felt like she was going to a market where everybody was just trying to sell their wares. Another coaching client said to me that she thought that people thought she would be boring, that she didn't have nothing of interest to talk about. And I'll address both of these scenarios, and if it applies to you, then you can identify what you can do. So looking at the first scenario with the first client that was lacking confidence when it came to networking, and she had referenced it to being like a meat market. So because she worried about it, it made her feel anxious, because she would tell herself she's not good at it, she can't make small talk. That would aggravate the anxiety she felt about it. And so she would go into networking events and she'd be feeling anxious as she stepped into them. And because she was so anxious, she wouldn't have the kind of conversations that she wanted to have. Or oftentimes she would avoid going, but she knew that she had to, because there was pressure on her to bring in new clients into the business. And so what I got her to do was to reframe her views about network. Look at it what it was that she was worrying about when it came to networking. And it was that she just didn't like making small talk. She just felt it was a lot of people just trying to sell. And so what I did was I got her to reframe how she viewed networking, and rather than looking at it as going to a meat market where everybody's just trying to sell you something, look at it as that she was going to go and she was going to meet people. And if she would have a conversation with those people, if she struck up a conversation with them, that she would take the conversation out of the networking event, and then she would help them. She would let them know how. And so rather than looking at it as a meat market, she looked at it as an opportunity to meet people, to develop relationships, and then to go beyond the networking event to nurture those relationships. And by changing her perspective about networking in that way and looking at it as more as just getting to know people, that changed how she felt. And once she changed how she felt, she got more confident about it, to go there and to strike up conversations. And I will share with you how you can start conversations if you find it awkward to start conversations in environments like networking where you don't know anybody. So coaching client number 2 that I mentioned, she thought that she was boring, that she didn't have anything worthwhile to say. And so I challenged her thinking on that, and I asked her how long she'd been doing what she was doing, and she'd been doing it for a number of years. So she'd got a great deal of expertise. And so I said to her, well, you've got over 10 years experience. What sort of things have you done in those 10 years that you can talk about? And I also asked her as well if anybody had either told her that she didn't have anything of worthwhile to talk about, or that she was boring, or anybody had reacted to her in a way that they thought that she could tell that they thought she was boring and didn't have anything worthwhile to say. And when she reflected on it, she didn't. There was nobody that had said that to her. She didn't recall anybody ever having looked disinterested or anything like that. And so she was worrying about something that had never happened. And so I challenged her and I said, well, what was the chances of it happening if it's never happened? And she recognized it was no. And so then I dug a little deeper to find out, well, what is it that makes her think that she's got nothing worthwhile to say? And it turned out she was comparing herself to people who were more extroverted, who were into things like politics and that sort of thing, which she's not into. And so she gave an example of somebody who is able to work the room and they know all the things that's going on in politics, so they're having conversations about it and they're speaking passionately about it. But she said that, well, she's not into politics. She doesn't really know much to have a conversation, an articulate conversation about what's happening and current affairs. And so what I helped her to see was that she was comparing herself to other people and then putting herself down in the process, and that she wasn't comparing like to like. And I said to her, well, she's not the kind of person, as someone who's introverted, that would easily work the room. As introverts, we prefer depth of conversation over the quantity of conversation. So we prefer quality conversations rather than working the room and speaking to lots of different people and just having a quick small talk conversation. We prefer to have more meaningful conversations. And so that was one thing that I got her to see. The other thing was about, well, she's not interested in politics. It's not something that she's passionate about. So it's only natural that she's not going to be able to have a passionate conversation about it. So I asked her, well, what are those things that matter to her? And she identified things that she was passionate about. We did a values exercise and looked at her values and what her core values were. And things around social justice, equality, equal access to opportunities. Those are the things that she was passionate about. And I helped her to see that, well, there's lots of things that she could talk about there. And she was able to recognize that there's lots that she could talk about there. And it's just that she was focusing herself on those things that she had no interest in. And so it's only natural that she's not going to be able to have an engaging, passionate conversation about something that she's not interested in. But by looking at her values, aligning herself with her values, and she was able to recognize there are things that she can talk about, and she could talk about all night passionately. And so that then made it easier for her to go networking. And so if you find it hard, challenging to strike up conversations when networking, here are some tips that you can put into practice. So have what I call your toolkit of conversation starters. So when you go to an event, have some questions that you can ask people, and make these questions open questions, questions that start what, where, who, when, how. That will enable the person to respond with more than a yes or a no. Listen to what they say, and then ask another open question, and put your introverted skills into good practice. As introverts are known for being good listeners, listening intently to what they're saying, and ask another open question based on something that they said. Do that a few times. That will help you to get into the flow of the conversation. And people like to feel that they are listened to and that they are heard. So by you listening and listening attentively, they're going to feel heard, they're going to feel seen, and they're likely to then start asking you questions, and that will be a way to get into a more meaningful conversation. So use those small talk conversation starters as a segue to get into a more meaningful conversation. And so another tip for you is, if you find it difficult to join a group where people are already talking, then go up to a group. And it said that if you go up to a group with an odd number in, then it's easier to get into the conversation than if it's an even number. And the reason for this is that when people are speaking in groups, they often pair up. So if it's a group of 4, they often, you might see them sort of pair up and people are speaking to each other but within the group. But if you go to an odd number, with an odd number, there's likely to be someone that doesn't pair up, but then that's easier. So just go up to a group and just ask if it's okay for you to join them. They're not going to say no. I've never seen that happen. And if they do, that's okay. Go on to another group. Just go up to the group, ask if you can join them, and then just stand and listen to the conversation, introduce yourself when you get a chance, and listen to the conversation, and at appropriate time, say something based on what has been said. And most times anyway, when you do join a group, they do make you feel welcome and ask you about yourself or ask you who you are, so forth. So that's a tip if you don't like joining groups. And another thing, look for those people who are at the edge of the room on their own, maybe looking at their phones, pretending that they're checking an important message or an email, because they are likely to be finding it difficult and awkward too. And I'm sure they would welcome you going up to them and starting a conversation with them. And it's easy to spot, like I said, they're on the edge of the room on their own, possibly looking at their phone as a way of trying to hide the fact that they feel awkward because they're not speaking to anybody. So you go and help them by talking to them. And final thing is, before you go networking, if you know who's going to be there, if you've got the list of people that are going to be there, connect with them on LinkedIn or send them a message or an email, say, oh, I noticed you're going to be at such and such event. It'd be great to connect and great to have a chat. And I said the final thing. This is the final thing. Be strategic about it. So when you know you're going networking, go there with intentionality. Be intentional about what it is that you want to get from the networking. Have a plan so that you don't just throw yourself into it and unprepared, but think about what you want to get from the networking. Who's going to be there? Who the speaker's going to be if it's got a speaker? Conversation starters, and so that you go there feeling better prepared and with a plan. And getting to a networking event early is a good thing to do, because it means that groups of people haven't already formed. So being a person there early, where there's just one or two, it's easier to start conversations than if you get to an event where it's late. So those are my tips for networking. I hope you found them useful. Thank you for listening or watching. And if you're looking to increase your confidence, influence, and impact, if you haven't completed the free assessment on my website, go to aboundingsolutions.com. There's a free assessment that you can complete that will give you ideas about areas that you can focus on. And so until the next time, bye.